people adopt black children? It's a real question for me. Why do white people adopt black children and then say things like, I'm not raising black children, I'm raising children? Oh, are you? So this is UFC fighter Michael Chandler, and this is his wife. They've adopted 2 black children, and he recently did an interview where he stated he's not raising black children. He's raising children. And while I understand that he thinks that he means well by creating this piece of, I don't see color, let me tell you why that's a problem. Even though you claim that you and your wife don't see color, the world does. This is America.
Exactly.
And so when those children look at you, there's going to be, this can be problematic because it ignores the racial and cultural identity of the child.
Exactly.
By not acknowledging the child's racial background, you're going to inadvertently neglect certain aspects of their identity, which is black.
Exactly.
You're going to neglect their experiences. You're going to neglect what they may go through when they get out in the real world because they will not be treated like you. So when you say that you're not raising black children, you're only raising children, how are you going to explain to them when they get treated different in the schools that you put them in? When they get treated different out in society? When they get treated different in the workplace? How are you going to explain that to them? Is race going to come up then? Another reason why I don't understand why white people adopt black children is because a lot of times white people are not around a lot of black people, right?
Exactly.
And so you're only going to have these black children around other white people, and I'm just assuming here, I don't know him personally, but I'm just saying for the most part, whenever we see white celebrities adopt black children, they have them within their group of friends, right? All white people. When they're not just, even though you're raising them, you want to expose them to their own culture. Do you have any black friends? Is there any type of cultural significance you can give these children? Any shows, any areas, any schools, anything to show them somebody who looks like them and not just like you? When these children grow up, or what we see most of the time, when these children end up growing up, they feel lost in the world and they don't know where they fit in. Because on one side of the spectrum, you really don't fit in with the black population because you've been raised as white, even though you are black. Then on the other side of the spectrum, you're around all these white people and they don't 100% accept you because at the end of the day, you're black. So with all of these complexities, why would you not acknowledge or raise your children as black children to prepare them the best that you can in the world? This I don't see color mentality does more harm than good. Because while you claim you don't see color, we know you do. And that's not a bad thing. That's not to say that anybody's racist or anything like that. But when people claim that they don't see color, you do. Because you're not blind. Everybody sees color. I'm looking at this picture right here and I see a white wife and a white husband and black children. So everybody sees color. And guess what? When they go out in the world is also going to see color. So I hope all the backlash that you've been getting for that interview that you did will enlighten you and your wife a little bit to open up your mind and give these children the best upbringing, because we know monetarily you can. We know monetarily you're going to give them the best life that they can have. They're probably going to go to the best schools, best food, best area. That's all fine and dandy. But make sure you don't slip on that mental health. Because by raising them as not black children is going to psychologically mess them up. Why do white people adopt black children?
I got a question. Why are there so many black children that need to be adopted? My second question is,
Why do you care who adopts them and what color they are as long as they love that child and raise them right? And lastly, I see color. I see color. But when I see a little baby, I don't go, oh, look at that little white baby or look at that little black baby. These are babies. They haven't been filled with ignorance yet. Let them babies be babies and grow up to be good.
This is the exact reason why you shouldn't be adopting black children, because you are raising them to see nothing else but love, respect, and peace, because that is who you want them to become for you. That is you raising them to have an identity crisis in the future. You're not preparing them to be conscious of the environment that they are going to be treated in. These are two black children. They live in a system that's completely different from two of these white people. You did not eat as much as you think you ate. You didn't, I'm sorry. Because they're going to grow up one day. They're going to grow up eventually. They are going to wonder, why is it whenever I'm in school, I'm treated completely different? Despite me speaking the same way, reasoning the same way, acting the same way, behaving critically in the same way. Why is it I am completely different? Why is it I do this and it is never enough? Why? Why is it that I could never really be enough for the space that I'm in? They are going to ask themselves, and this is what is going to cause an identity crisis. It's causing an identity crisis because the system that's currently operating right now is telling them that they are not good enough, that because of their skin tone, because of their hair, because of who they are genetically are, they cannot deserve to be in their spaces, and they are not allowed, despite you being the awesome parent you can be as a white parent. You can be the most amazing loving parent in your life. It wouldn't matter if you don't prepare them with a solid foundation. It gives, I'm preparing them to not challenge me, to not challenge white authority. You completely missing the point is exactly why you shouldn't be raising black children. I'm not even going to address this lady because I wanted to listen to this full video, because this sort of like you deflecting and telling me why there's black people, why does black children need to be adopted. You know why black children need to be adopted. You know why that is. Parents cannot afford to raise them. That is why. In a system that outcasts black people, they cannot afford. Something went wrong and they don't want children, or something literally, like something, go back and find out what happened. Why would a parent leave their child? Could be for many factual reasons. Okay? Many factual reasons. But for many reasons, I agree with this woman because she's completely right. She's completely right. And she did not stutter. What are you doing outside of putting your children in white spaces and expecting them to be good people so that you can feel good about yourself? What are you doing? Are you taking these children on extra activities that will teach them about who they are? What spaces are they in that teaches them about their color of skin, how the world is going to treat them, irrespective of you not seeing color? What are you preparing these children for the future? Because at this moment, everyone agreeing with this white man is showing me that this is a recipe for disaster. We're literally going to have such people in our spaces who work for such people. Because why? You identify with them. You look like me, but you don't act like me. It's not giving me. You see what I'm saying? Because your parents are raising you to not see color. But the system says, hey, you're black. I don't care who your mommy is or your adopted mommy is. By the way, you're not forced to adopt black babies. You're not. Okay? And they're not pet toys. Black babies, they are not pet toys for your entertainment so that you can erase your guilt. I'm sorry.
Hello. So I find it interesting that you said this is a real question and then turned off comments, stitches, duets, anything someone could use to respond to a real question. It almost makes me feel like maybe this isn't a real question and it's just a dig at white people and anyone who doesn't agree with you. And I get it. Things get irritating after a while, after you experience the same thing over and over again. And social media isn't always a great place because people usually aren't looking to be respectful or have a conversation. They're looking to be jerks. So that being said, if you are going to come to my comments, point out anything about my appearance, the fact that I lisp because of the gap in my teeth, my hair, whatever it might be, or say that something about my appearance shows you I'm not black, therefore my opinion is not valid, anything that's dickish, basically, I'm either going to block you, delete your comment, or respond in kind. Okay, so please just be a nice human being. Just be decent, right? You don't have to agree with me. Just be decent. That being said, if you do disagree, I will probably still respond and expect for me to respond, but I'll respond respectfully if you comment respectfully. Okay, so let's get into it. I am one of those children that you're talking about. I was adopted by white people when I was a baby. I'm now 26, almost 27 years old. And I do have an issue with this, so congratulations. Hit dogs holler. I'm offended. There you go. So let's talk about it a little bit. So I'm going to be real with you. I find this view very narrow-minded and a little prejudiced, in my opinion. And you're not the only person I've heard it from. And this is something that hasn't just been said online, it's something that's been said to my face. And I harp on it a lot because to me it's kind of a big inciting moment for why I now talk about what I talk about. I had someone tell me that it was wrong for my parents to adopt me because I'm black and they're white for the reasons kind of that you listed, right? And what I should have told that person was, I think that's a very narrow-minded and prejudiced view, and I do not think that you have an authority over me because we have the same skin color. But I didn't do that because I still kind of had a belief that my experience is not valid, that I am a defective black person, and therefore I need to either be silent or support other people's experiences while being quiet about my own. And now I've kind of reached a point where I'm like, okay, other people have valid experiences to talk about, but so do I. So I'm going to speak on those experiences and also speak out against people who I believe are being unkind, right? So that's kind of where I'm at today. So some other people have already responded and have responded with the short answer is kind of that a lot of white people are the ones who are opening their homes to these children. And I don't know if it's that a lot of black people don't want to, that they aren't in a position to, or that it's just the fact that the majority of the country is white, and so the majority of people adopting children are white, right? I think there's a lot of factors that could be in there about that, right? But I think a lot of white people, they just say, I'd like to adopt the child. And then they end up in the situation that my parents were in, where they were just like, I'd like to adopt a child. They didn't specify a race, and they ended up with black children the first 2 times that they adopted. And then they were like, okay, well, we have 2, so let's just keep it going. And I thought that was very funny. So now they have all 4 of us, me and my siblings. We are all black, and my 2 parents are white. Together we make 2 Oreos. It's very fun. And I find it personally very insulting when other black people try to insert themselves into my life and say whether or not it is right for me to have the parents that I do. And personally for me, there are 2 things that kind of lead me to where I'm at on this, which is, A, children need parents more than they need culture that someone else has attached to their skin color, right? So for me personally, I don't believe that culture comes from skin color. I believe it comes from where you grow up. And I don't believe I even have to be connected to black culture in America to live a well-rounded, happy, valuable life, right? Now, searching out your heritage, understanding where you came from, understanding your history is all awesome and good, right? But I don't think it is it's the major factor in who I am. nor do I think that not being a part of it is going to take out a big chunk of value from my life, personally. I don't think culture comes from skin color. I think that if I was raised in Korea, I would have Korean culture. And if I came over to America and then had a bunch of people of my own skin color telling me, hey, you need to connect to your heritage of that is Black American, I might be like even more confused than I already am and be like, well, I'm Korean. Like, just kind of a weird example, but a possibility, right? I think culture comes from how you're raised. I think families have culture. Sometimes even small towns have culture. States have culture, right? It depends on where you're from. It depends on how you grow up. And I don't think that it is kind of an automatically set that if you are this race, you need to have this culture. And the other thing is just having a family is important. And I'm glad that I had a family who loved me and took care of me. And my family also stood up for me. And in the beginning, I can probably say that there wasn't a lot of understanding on the racial level. They understood there were people who were going to say things about us and it annoyed them, right? And they would kind of like be uncomfortable or say something if what someone said to us was unkind and wrong. Although most of what we got was just people coming over and saying what a beautiful family we had, which was still weird because we were just kind of like, okay, if we had white children, would you say the same thing, right? It's just kind of like, this is kind of weird, dude, right? I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, I have this Black friend, and I'm like, okay, I don't know you, I don't know them, why is this relevant to me, right? Sure, there are still ignorant white people out there, and there's still racist white people out there. Unfortunately for me, the majority of my experience has been being pushed out by my people of my own skin color. And that mental health that you're talking about, a lot of my negative mental health issues when it comes to race have come from how Black people have treated me and the things they have said about me. My name's too white, the way I talk's too white, I have parents that are too white, I don't believe the right things. Oh, I'm surprised you know that, Rebecca. And I'm just like, why do you even need to make those comments, right? And that's mostly come from people of my own skin color. When it comes to the race conversation, the people who have at least been willing to listen to me and listen to my experience, for the most part, have been white. And even those people sometimes like, well, I can't listen to you. You're digestible Black. You're token Black, right? And obviously they don't say that, but it's like, dude, I can tell. Like, when I'm sitting there and I can see your eyes glazing over and I can see you shutting down because you wanted to hear a Black experience, but now it's not what you wanted to hear as a white person, I'm just kind of like, okay, I can see that you don't care. I can see that you don't value my experience. It's not what you wanted to hear, right? And that's frustrating, and that's annoying. And that is what's led to the most mental health issues and passion for me when it comes to these types of issues. It's not about white people for me. It's about how the anger and hatred that some people in the Black community have towards white people ends up getting directed right back at other Black people who are seen as too white. Or sometimes, and it's really sad, sometimes things that are just successful, like having good grades, making a certain amount of money, whatever it is, sometimes those things are seen as white. And I'm like, why are those things white? Why can't everyone have that success, right? And I think you're right. The world is going to be different for everyone. And in this country, the world is going to be different depending on where you are for Black people. And my parents recognize that, and they've learned that over the years. And they are people who will stand up for me, and I know that. They marched when George Floyd was murdered. They told our church that they should speak out on this issue. They are learning and continue to learn. The person who did twist outs for me, who put my hair in braids, who put beads in my hair for the first 18 years of my life was my white mother. She tried to put a bonnet on me, but I hated it and kept taking it off, so she put me on a satin pillowcase instead. White people can learn, and a lot of them are willing to learn, and they're willing to be good parents to those kids. And I think that if you're a person of my skin color, it might be a good learning experience for you and maybe a good thing for you to reflect and see that there are going to be a lot of happy Black children with white parents, right? There are going to be a lot of children of other races.
You're the perfect example why I would not be comfortable with having my kids around you. You are a perfect example of a diluted Black person. You are so far apart from the reality that we experience as Black people that you are even more willing to defend it. You are raised to become the token Black person, and you are not even conscious of the fact that you are raised to become a token black person. You are raised to become the defender of the people who raised you. Of course, we are going to assume that what do they have in common with you to raise you? There's more to blackness than doing your hair. There's more to blackness than just knowing how to dress you. It is about our skin, not because we decided to make it that way, but because the system that is designed by your white parents has made it so for people like you and me. And yes, we are conscious. There are many factors why black children are being adopted by them, starting with the fact that they are trying to erase the guilt that they have inside, that they are trying to do away by raising you. The way you think, the way you act, the way that you talk, the way you behave is a perfect example of this woman making. You don't want to hear it because it doesn't resonate with you. Why would it? It's against everything you were taught to believe. Somewhere, somehow, racism is going to interject. Because if you're still continuously doing the work, why are you doing it with the children who look differently than you? Why aren't you doing it alone? That means you are going to spend another lifetime recorrecting the mistakes of your parents because they were not smart enough to do the teaching by themselves before they even brought you in. Respectfully, you're the perfect example why I would not prefer to have my children around your mindset. It is very harmful and I could not accept it. I would not want to be surrounded by people like you, and not mainly because you are raised by your white parents. I'm just feeling that we are far apart from each other and we will not be able to correlate. There's nothing we can correlate about because on one hand, you are a black person with white parents. You're going to have an identity crisis. Oh my God, the fact is I listened to you for 10 minutes and I was already done. Not because your white parents have adopted folk, and so now you should have empathy.